this life, perhaps no one can escape the fear of illness. When the body weakens, when breathing becomes heavy, and every sleep is restless with pain. That's when people deeply feel how fragile and how truly miserable life can be. Some live their entire lives in wealth and abundance, but with the onset of just one illness, all their aspirations suddenly become meaningless. Others are poor, toiling relentlessly to support themselves, only to fall ill and be left sighing as time slips away. Illness makes us afraid, makes us helpless, and leads many to bewilderedly ask, "Why am I sick? What did I do wrong? Why would the Buddhas and heavenly beings let me suffer like this?" However, in Buddhist teachings, illness is not merely suffering. It is a wake-up call, a warning bell. Every pang of pain, every moment the body doesn't cooperate, is a reminder that this body is impermanent, this life is fleeting, and our mind needs to be healed. The Buddha once said, "Physical ailments are easy to cure. Mental ailments are difficult to treat." The body may be in pain, but if the mind is at peace, we can still smile through the suffering, and even view illness as a teacher guiding us toward awakening. The ancients wisely said, "Illness arises from the mind. When the mind is at peace, the body will surely be at ease." Every physical ailment reflects something within the mind. When we harbor anger and resentment, our mind generates heat, and that fire of anger burns our cells, causing physical illness. When we are anxious and fearful, our vital energy and blood circulation become sluggish, making the body tired. When we crave excessively, never knowing enough, the mind is constantly agitated, and the body, too, finds no peace. Therefore, the Buddha taught that to heal an illness, one must first look within, learn to turn inward, and recognize the mental afflictions that are feeding the physical sickness. There is a story passed down from the time when the Buddha was still alive. There was a wealthy householder who lived in a luxurious palace, but suffered from a strange illness. All the skilled doctors, from far and wide, were stumped. In desperation, he sought out the Buddha, knelt at his feet, and implored, "Venerable One, I have everything, but I cannot escape the pain in my body. Please, save me." The Buddha looked at him with compassion and asked, "Do you know the cause of your illness?" The householder choked back tears and replied, "I don't know. I only know that my body is suffering immensely." The Buddha gently smiled. "No one can heal you if you don't understand yourself. Illness is not just in the body. It is in the mind. If the mind is healed, the physical illness will gradually dissipate." That saying seemed simple, yet it was the key that opened the door to enlightenment. For so many of us are like that householder. When illness strikes, we only worry about finding medicine and doctors, forgetting to look at our inner life. We forget that we are living in anger, resentment, fear, and loneliness. All these things are silent toxins that feed illness. When the mind is unsettled, even precious medicine only provides temporary relief. But when the mind is at peace, breathing is calm, and smiles return, the body also begins to recover. Therefore, today, let us listen again to the Buddha's teachings on illness, not to lament or fear, but to understand that illness comes not to punish, but to remind us to live more mindfully, to love ourselves more, and to let go of resentments so that our minds become lighter and our breath becomes purer. Before listening to the next part, close your eyes, relax your shoulders, and feel your breath entering and leaving through your nose. Inhale, knowing you are alive. Exhale, letting go of all fears and worries. In each mindful breath, the seed of healing is sprouting. And from here, the journey of listening to the Buddha's teachings to eliminate illness and end all suffering will begin. My dear friend, in human life, there is a lingering fear that is always present, though we rarely name it as the fear of illness. For when illness comes, the body becomes weary, the spirit weak, and all plans and dreams are put on hold. Some people suffer pain in one spot, yet their entire body feels wretched. Some have minor ailments, but their restless minds make the illness severe. Others are gravely ill, yet their minds are light because they understand the truth of impermanence. And it is at this point that the Buddha's teachings on illness become like a guiding torch in the dark night of suffering. The Buddha once asked a sick person, "Do you know the cause of your illness?" That question was not only for the person in the ancient story, but is also a question for each of us today. Nowadays, when illness comes, most of us turn to medicine, hospitals, and doctors. We seek to treat the body, but few think about healing the mind. The Buddha taught that physical ailments are easy to cure, but mental ailments are difficult to treat. Physical illness is due to diet, lifestyle, environment, or age, but mental illness stems from greed, anger, and ignorance, from the toxins in our consciousness that we nourish daily. When our mind is filled with worry, resentment, fear, and jealousy, it is like a smoldering fire burning cells, making the body tired. Therefore, treating the body without treating the mind is like cutting the grass without pulling out the roots. The illness will simply grow back, merely changing form or location. There is an old saying, "The body gets sick because we don't know when to stop. The mind gets sick because we don't know how to let go." When the body doesn't know when to stop, we rush through life. We eat and drink without moderation, work without rest, and sleep irregularly. When the mind doesn't know how to let go, we cling to anger, blame, regret, and excessive craving, allowing negative energy to gradually seep into the body. Every time we get angry, the body releases toxins, causing the heart to race and blood pressure to rise. Every time we are sad, the immune system weakens and illnesses easily arise. Conversely, when the mind is at peace, the body naturally regulates itself. That is why some gravely ill people remain strong, while others without illness are constantly tired. There is a truly touching story that the channel of efficacious Buddhist teachings wants to tell you. The story of Mr. Ba, a farmer in the Mekong Delta. Mr. Ba is over 60 this year, has lived a life of hardship, gentle and honest. Yet, for many years, he suffered from chronic stomach pain, and no medicine seemed to help. At first, he thought it was due to his irregular eating habits, but doctors told him the main cause was stress and excessive worry. He didn't believe it. He said, "I'm poor, but I've never been unkind to anyone, so why am I constantly sick?" Then one day, by chance, his son invited him to the pagoda to listen to a Dharma talk. He sat at the back of the lecture hall, initially intending to just listen casually. But when the monk lectured on the passage, physical illness is old karma. Mental illness is present affliction. If the mind remains angry, the body can hardly find peace. He felt as if the words were speaking directly to him. It turned out that for all those years, he hadn't truly been as gentle as he thought. His heart was full of anger. Anger that his children wouldn't listen. Anger that neighbors spoke ill of him. Anger at life's injustices. He worried about his crops and money, and pitied his own fate. In those years, though he ate clean rice and drank pure water, his mind was filled with toxins. After that talk, he began to practice letting go. He learned to chant Namo Amitabha Buddha every evening before sleep, and whenever his stomach pain tormented him, he no longer complained about his fate, but breathed very slowly, placed his hand on his abdomen, and chanted the Buddha's name in silence. A few months later, he noticed the pain gradually subsided. He ate better and slept more deeply. When the doctor re-examined him, the results brought tears to his eyes. The illness had almost completely remitted. Later, he recounted, "I understand now. The real illness in me wasn't in my stomach, but in my mind. If my mind was always full of worry and sorrow, no medicine could cure it." From then on, he lived peacefully and joyfully, spending time chanting sutras, doing good deeds, and helping others. People called him lucky, but he just smiled. It's not luck. It's that I learned to let go. Mr. Ba's story is not a myth. It is proof of the Buddha's teachings. Physical illness comes from old karma, mental illness from afflictions. When the mind is at peace, the body naturally heals. For physical illness is merely a manifestation of an unsettled mind. When the mind is clear and wisdom opens, healing energy radiates throughout the body, and cells are nourished by faith and peace. Some call it a miracle, but in reality, it is a natural law. If we observe deeply, we will see that many modern illnesses do not come from bacteria or viruses, but from psychology, pressure, competition, anger, fear, and loneliness. People eat better, dress better, and live more comfortably, yet they are more anxious and sick more often. The root cause is that the body is strong, but the mind is weak. We live far from nature, far from ourselves, forgetting that this body is temporary, and the mind is the true root. The Buddha once said, "The mind is the forerunner of all mental states. Mind is chief. Mind-made are they." When the mind creates unwholesome thoughts, the body suffers the consequences. When the mind generates wholesome intentions, the body is nourished by blessings. Therefore, to cure physical illness, one must first cure the mind. The difficulty is that we often only see the outer layer of suffering. We see the sick person, but do not see their ailing mind. A person who constantly flares up and scolds others, even if not yet physically ill, has already sown the seeds of illness in their body. A person who often worries and harbors fear, even if not yet sick, already has disordered vital energy and blood. The Buddha taught that anger is fire, craving is a binding rope, and ignorance is darkness. These three poisons, greed, anger, and ignorance, are the root of all suffering. When we are greedy, we make the body chase after desires, depleting energy. When we are angry, we make the mind flare up, burning cells. When we are ignorant, we fail to recognize the truth of impermanence, clinging to this body as I. Thus, when the body hurts, the mind suffers even more. Some ask, so if I'm sick because of karma, must I just endure it? The Buddha taught that karma is not destiny, but energy that can be transformed, just like muddy water. If left undisturbed, the sediment settles, and the water becomes clear. When we practice cultivation, meditation, chanting the Buddha's name, and keep the mind pure, wholesome energy will lighten karma, making illness subside and suffering dissipate. Illness comes not to punish, but to remind us to correct ourselves, to know when to stop and when to let go. Once, a severely ill disciple came to lament, "Venerable One, my body is in immense pain, and my mind cannot bear it." The Buddha asked, "If a person is shot with one arrow, and then shoots another arrow into themselves, is that person foolish?" The disciple replied, "Venerable One, truly foolish." The Buddha said, "Your body's pain is the first arrow, but if you resent, lament, and grieve, that is you shooting the second arrow into your own mind." This lesson shows that physical suffering has limits, but mental suffering is boundless. With a sick body and a peaceful mind, one can still smile. But with a sick body and a suffering mind, life becomes hell. If we look deeply, we will see that illness is also a teacher. When illness comes, we finally stop, listen to our body, and learn to cherish and appreciate every breath. Some, like Mr. Ba, learned to practice and cherish life through illness, leading them to live righteously. It was illness that led him back to mindfulness, finding peace. The pain of the body became the seed of enlightenment. So if we understand correctly, illness is no longer an enemy, but a reminder to live mindfully. Those who follow the Buddha's teachings do not fear illness, nor do they run from it. Instead, they contemplate it. This illness is old karma manifesting. I gladly accept it, considering it repayment of a debt. When the mind harbors no resentment, karma gradually diminishes. But if one resents illness, resents heaven, resents others, the karma accumulates even more karma. The Buddha taught that illness comes as a condition, duyen. Knowing illness is wisdom, not resenting illness is practice. A mind that is grateful for illness is a mind that has begun to transform. Therefore, the important thing is not whether we are sick or not, but how we face illness. If we know how to listen, how to turn inward, how to abide in our breath, then illness becomes a path leading to peace. Try to sit quietly, breathe deeply, exhale, and smile at your body, softly saying, "Thank you, dear body, for enduring with me all these years. I apologize for often pushing you, forgetting to care for you, forgetting to listen." Just doing this, the mind begins to heal. And when the mind heals, the body will also be nourished. Buddhism is not separate from life. Its teachings are not distant philosophies, but remedies for all human ailments. While medicine may cure the body with small pills, the medicine for the mind is faith, letting go, mindful breathing, and gratitude. Remember that this body will grow old, get sick, and decay. Only a pure and compassionate mind is the most enduring health. Therefore, if you are ill, do not just seek medicine. Seek yourself. If you are in pain, stop, listen, and learn to let go. When the mind becomes calm, every cell in the body feels as if it is being bathed in the light of peace. When the mind is clear, the body is healthy, and suffering will dissipate like dew meeting the morning sun. Now, you can sit still for a few more minutes. Gently close your eyes. Place your hands on your chest. Inhale deeply and exhale very slowly. In each breath, silently chant, Namo Amitabha Buddha. Each chant is an act of letting go, a turning inward, a healing of the mind. Let the sound of the Buddha's name become a cool stream, soothing all pain. Illness is not an end, but a beginning of awakening. When we understand the source of illness, we no longer fear it. For when the mind is at peace, the body naturally heals, and suffering naturally vanishes, like clouds passing across the sky. In this life, people often think illness comes only from the body, from food, weather, or circumstances. But the Buddha's teachings clearly state that physical illness is merely an external manifestation, while mental illness is the true root. When the mind is unsettled, the body is also unstable. When the mind is agitated, breathing is disordered, and the vital energy and blood within the body also become imbalanced. The Buddha once taught, "The wise person keeps their mind at peace. Their body will be light. The foolish person lets their mind be disturbed. Their body will quickly fall ill." It sounds simple, but in a world full of temptations, how many can keep their minds calm amidst the turbulent currents of life? Mrs. Nam, a market vendor, is a small example in this stream of life. Every day she wakes up early, busily arranging her goods, making a living under the sun and wind. She thought worrying for her family, saving every penny, was a precious thing. But gradually, over the years, she forgot how to care for her own body. She ate irregularly, ate too much at night when she was tired, and then stayed up late watching TV to forget her fatigue. These seemingly harmless habits accumulated day by day into illness. Initially, it was stomach pain, then digestive disorders, then chronic insomnia, a weakened body, and a tired mind. She no longer had interest in selling, no longer found joy in life. One day, after visiting the pagoda, she heard the abbot preach, "Eating moderately is a way to cultivate the body. Resting mindfully is a way to nourish the mind. One who knows how to harmonize body and mind is sowing seeds of peace for the future." Those words shone a light into her heart. She went home and began to change. In the evening, she ate early and just enough, not overfilling her stomach. She practiced slow breathing, sitting in silence for a few minutes before sleeping, chanting the name of Amitabha Buddha for her mind to find peace. After only a short time, her body felt stronger, her sleep was deeper, and her smile was gentler. She realized that knowing when enough is a blessing. Knowing when to stop is peace, and preserving the body is preserving the Dharma. The Buddha once pointed out 5 major causes of human illness, affecting not only the body, but also the mind. 1. Eating too much or too late. Many people, due to a craving for delicious food, fear of hunger, or simply sadness, eat late at night or excessively. The human body is like a container. If overfilled, it overflows. If one does not know moderation, the stomach must work continuously. Vital energy and blood circulation are obstructed, leading to illness. The Buddha taught to eat just enough to nourish the body, not to eat to satisfy greedy desires. When we know when enough is enough, we are not only nourishing the body, but also training the mind to be temperate and to let go of craving. 2. Sleeping too much. Some people think sleeping a lot is resting, but in fact, excessive sleep makes the mind sluggish and wisdom dim. The Buddha taught monks to live mindfully, not to indulge in long sleep. Sleep is for the body to recover, but if one sleeps to escape or forget life, that is not rest, but a waste of life. A person who sleeps a lot, but whose mind is still unsettled, will not feel healthy, even when they wake up. One who knows how to sleep less but deeply and rests at the right time will have a clear and awakened body and mind. 3. Living dissolutely. When people indulge in sensual desires, the body becomes worn out and the mind becomes impure. The Buddha did not teach us to extinguish desires by self-mortification, but rather taught us to contemplate to see that desires are impermanent, to see craving as a fire burning oneself. When we cannot control our body and mind, desires will lead us into suffering. Knowing when to stop, returning to simplicity, and living purely, that is the most effective remedy for mental illness. 4. Apathy and indifference. Many people live as if they are not alive. They see others suffer, but are not moved. They see good deeds, but do not perform them. They see evil, but do not intervene. This very indifference causes the vital energy within them to gradually stagnate. A person indifferent to others will sooner or later become cold to themselves. Their body will weaken, and their spirit will wither. The Buddha taught that a compassionate mind is the source of vital energy. A person with a loving heart is a healthy person. When we know how to love, care, and share, the energy within us is naturally restored. 5. Laziness. Not just physical laziness, but also mental laziness. Laziness in cultivating the mind, laziness in thinking good thoughts, laziness in doing good deeds. When the body is inactive, the mind will fall ill. An unexercised body leads to stagnant vital energy and blood. A mind not directed toward good leads to stagnant energy. The Buddha once said, "Practice is action. Without action, the Dharma perishes." Labor, work, and mindful practice are how we train our body and mind. A lazy person will easily fall ill with boredom, find life meaningless, and feel useless. But just by starting a small task, waking up earlier, chanting the Buddha's name a little, sweeping the house, tending the garden, one has begun the transformation. From these 5 causes, we see that physical illness and mental illness always go hand in hand. Physical illness is a signal for us to re-examine our lifestyle, while mental illness is a reminder for us to turn inward and enlighten our inner selves. When we regulate our breath, when we eat mindfully, when we sleep in peace, when we do good deeds, our mind becomes clear, and our body naturally becomes healthy. The Buddha taught, "When the mind is at peace, all is at peace. When the mind is agitated, everything is in disarray. Karma operates without error. Those who live moderately, who love, who do good, are sowing wholesome seeds for a healthy body and a peaceful mind. Those who indulge, are greedy, and are selfish are sowing the seeds of illness for the future. Some ask, why do I still do good deeds? Yet I am still sick? The Buddha taught that this is old karma, the result of past lives, or this life that has not yet been fully repaid. But when you maintain a wholesome mind, know how to practice and improve, that karma will be transformed, and the illness will gradually dissipate. For illness comes not to punish, but to remind us to awaken, to learn to love our body, love life, and love people. In meditation, when we sit still, we listen to our breath, listening to every movement in the body. Each incoming breath receives new energy. Each outgoing breath lets go of worries and anxieties. When the body is at peace and the mind is clear, naturally, pains and fatigue also subside. Practicing just a few minutes each day is sowing wholesome seeds for lasting health. The Buddha taught that there is no path to peace, for peace itself is the path. Like Mrs. Nam's story, when she finally stopped and looked deeply into her habits, her body and mind immediately changed. No miracle medicine, no magic was needed, just mindfulness and living according to the Buddha's teachings, and her illness gradually receded. From then on, she understood that preserving the body is part of spiritual practice. For the body is the dwelling place of the mind, and the mind is the dwelling place of the Dharma. When we cherish the body, we are honoring life itself. As you listen to this, perhaps you see a reflection of yourself somewhere in those 5 causes. Maybe you, too, have eaten late at night, been lazy, lived superficially, or been so tired you cared about nothing. But the Buddha taught that knowing one's faults is practice. Correcting them is awakening. It is never too late to start. Just by setting your mind to change today, you have sown wholesome seeds for tomorrow. Try eating a little lighter each evening, turning off the TV earlier, and sitting quietly for 5 minutes, breathing mindfully. Each morning, instead of rolling up in bed, get up and greet the first light of day, smile, and say, I am grateful for life, for this body. Day by day, your body and mind will be miraculously healed. May each of us understand that illness is not just to be cured, but also to awaken us. Pain is not just to be endured, but also to teach us. Let us view illness as a gentle reminder from the universe, from karma, from cause and effect, to return to living in harmony with the Buddha mind within ourselves. May the merit of these teachings be dedicated to all beings suffering in body and mind. May all who hear them find peace, enlightenment, and transformation of suffering. In life, all of us fear illness. When the body weakens, every breath becomes heavy. Every step becomes a burden. Some lament, I don't fear death, only illness. Because illness doesn't let us die completely to be liberated, nor does it allow us to live a single day in complete joy. The pain in the body makes the mind weary, and the suffering in the mind further weakens the body. But amidst this impermanence, the Buddha taught a wondrous path, a path to healing not with medicine, but with mindfulness and transformation of the mind. When the Buddha was still alive, many people came to him, asking for healing. Some suffered from leprosy, others from excruciating bone pain, and some were ill, with minds filled with resentment and immense suffering. They hoped he would bestow upon them some miraculous elixir to relieve their physical pain. But the Buddha did not give anyone a pill. He simply looked at them with compassionate eyes and gently asked, "Do you know the cause of your illness?" And from that question, countless souls awakened. Countless suffering people stepped onto the path of peace. Because in his teachings, the body is merely a boat, while the mind is the rower. If the boat is slightly damaged, it can still be patched up and continue. But if the rower is confused, fearful, and angry, the boat will be tossed about in the stormy waves and never find shore. Physical illness is hard to avoid in this world, but mental illness is what causes endless suffering. Therefore, true healing is not about finding external remedies, but about turning inward, nurturing a wholesome mind, sowing good seeds, allowing vital energy to flow and blood to circulate, bringing peace to the body and clarity to the mind. The Buddha often taught, "Mind is chief. Mind-made are they. Mind is the forerunner of all mental states." When our mind generates thoughts of worry, fear, or dissatisfaction, the body immediately reacts, causing vital energy and blood to stagnate, energy to become sluggish, and cells to weaken. Conversely, when our mind generates wholesome thoughts of gratitude and love, the body immediately senses that peaceful energy and recovers. Modern science today also proves that positive mental states, relaxation, and faith can miraculously activate the body's self-healing abilities. But the Buddha taught this more than 2,000 years ago. He did not tell us to seek miracles, but taught us to realize that the miracle lies within ourselves. He said, "Once the mind is wholesome and clear, the body will naturally recover." That saying seems simple, yet it holds a profound truth. For wholesome is letting go of anger, and clear is escaping ignorance. When anger and ignorance dissolve, wholesome energy arises, and then physical illness also gradually transforms. Imagine a clear blue pond. When the water's surface is still, the moonlight reflects clearly. But when the wind blows, the water ripples, and the moonlight shatters and distorts. The human mind is similar. When the mind is disturbed and no longer at peace, the body cannot be healthy. Many people travel far and wide, trying all sorts of medicine, but their illness doesn't go away, because the root of the illness lies in the mind, not in the body. There's a touching story I want to tell you about a person who found a miracle in their own awakening. Mr. Tin, a 35-year-old construction engineer, was the pillar of his family. One morning, on his way to a construction site, he was involved in a serious traffic accident. The collision broke his spine, leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. From a strong, active person, he suddenly became someone confined to bed, dependent on his wife and children for all his daily needs. Those months, he lived in despair, shame, and resentment toward fate. He once said, "If Buddha truly exists, why does he let me suffer like this?" He didn't know that this very question was the call of a soul yearning for salvation. One day, lying in bed, he heard a Dharma talk online titled, "When the mind is at peace, the body is at peace." The monk's voice was calm and warm, like a cool stream flowing into his soul. The monk said, Don't fear illness. Illness is a friend who comes to remind us to stop and look deeply within ourselves. When you see your fear, embrace it, understand it. Then you will know that though the body hurts, the mind can be free from suffering. Mr. Tin was stunned. Those words were like a ray of light piercing through the thick clouds of despair. From that day on, he began to practice meditation. At first, he could only sit for 10 minutes before becoming tired, in pain, and irritable. But then he remembered the monk's words. Sit with the pain, as you would with an old friend you haven't seen in a long time. He inhaled deeply, exhaled, feeling his breath enter and leave through his nose, through his abdomen. Gradually, he no longer feared the pain. The pain was still there, but it no longer caused him suffering. He began to chant Namo Amitabha Buddha with each breath, every morning and every evening. Whenever his body trembled, he would remind himself, Buddha, I don't ask to be cured of my illness. I only ask for my mind to be at peace. 3 months passed, and a miracle occurred. He began to move his fingers, then his hands, then his legs could wiggle. Doctors were amazed, calling it a miracle. But he smiled. The miracle is in my mind, nowhere else. After a year, Mr. Tin could walk on his own, though his steps were still slow. Each step was an expression of gratitude. He said, Before, I walked thousands of steps and never felt happy. Now, just one step, and I feel immense blessings. Mr. Tin's story is not just a belief, but a living testament to the Buddha's teachings. When the mind is calm and stable, the body's natural energy is awakened. The cells in the body react to every thought, every emotion we have. When we are angry, the body secretes toxins. When we are grateful, the body releases healing energy. The Buddha did not give us medicine because he knew the greatest medicine is a wholesome mind. Many people, when healthy, think that good medicine and skilled doctors are enough. But if their minds are always resentful, fearful, and sorrowful, medicine is only temporary. The Buddha taught that karma is not just the actions we perform, but also the habits of the mind. A person accustomed to fear sows the karma of fear. A person accustomed to doubt sows the karma of doubt. But one who knows how to live with faith, breathes with mindfulness, and practices forgiveness sows the karma of peace. And that karma is the energy that helps the body recover. There are people who go to pagodas, kneel before Buddha statues, praying for their illnesses to disappear. The Buddha remains silent. Many think he is not efficacious, but in truth, he is teaching that to be cured of illness, one must heal the mind oneself. The Buddha does not bestow miracles because miracles are already within each person. When we chant his name, it is not for him to hear, but for our minds to quiet down and become pure. At that moment, the Buddha's energy will merge with ours, like clear water blending with clear water. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha taught that for one with a pure mind, this very world becomes the Pure Land. That saying refers not only to a realm after death, but to this very moment. When our mind is pure, the world around us naturally changes. Similarly, when our mind is at peace, our body naturally becomes healthy. The pain in the body is unavoidable, but whether there is suffering or not depends on the mind. He once likened the body to an earthen jar, and the mind to the water contained within. If the water is muddy, even a beautiful jar is useless. If the water is clear, even a slightly chipped jar is still valued. Similarly, if the mind is at peace, even a weak body is still a healthy body. If the mind is agitated, even a strong body becomes ill. In modern life, many people are sick not because of a lack of medicine, but because of a lack of tranquility. Stress, pressure, competition, anger, and fear deplete energy, creating invisible pains. Many young people, barely 30, suffer from insomnia, headaches, and nervous disorders. This is because a fire never extinguishes in their minds. The fire of ambition, fear, and competitiveness. The Buddha taught that when the mind is full of greed, the body is like one carrying fire. When the mind knows contentment, the body is like one cooled by a gentle breeze. Therefore, the first step to curing illness is to learn contentment, to learn to stop. Every day, take a few minutes to listen to your breath. When you inhale, know that you are inhaling. When you exhale, know that you are exhaling. Just doing that, the mind will gradually settle, and the self-healing energy within the body will be awakened. That is meditation. That is the miracle of mindfulness. There is no need to travel to distant places, no need for elaborate rituals, just one mindful breath. And you are already on the path of healing with the mind. And remember, forgiveness is also a medicine. Many sick people hold on to anger towards someone and cannot let go. They carry that resentment in their hearts year after year, eventually weakening their bodies. The Buddha taught that anger is a fire that burns oneself. When we forgive, we extinguish that fire, opening the door for peace to return. Many people's illnesses have subsided simply by learning to forgive. Because forgiveness not only liberates others, but also liberates ourselves. In the midst of illness, practice, looking at the body with the eye of impermanence. This body is not me. It is merely borrowed temporarily for spiritual practice. When we understand this, we will not suffer excessively when the body is in pain. We will learn to cherish every moment, every breath. Every day, we can open our eyes to see the light, hear the birds, and read a sutra. That is a blessing. And when we live with gratitude, the energy within us changes. Science calls it positive frequency. Buddhism calls it merit. Both speak of the same thing. When the mind is grateful, peaceful energy radiates, and illness cannot long exist in a body filled with gratitude. As you listen to this, the channel of efficacious Buddhist teachings, hopes you can close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale very slowly. Say silently to yourself, I am at peace. I am alive. I thank this body, which, despite its pain, is still striving for me. Let the chant, Namo Amitabha Buddha, gently echo in your mind. Each chant is a cool drop of water irrigating the thirst of the soul. The Buddha taught that cultivation is correction. When the mind is corrected, the body will naturally change. When the mind no longer clings, illness also lightens. When the mind no longer resents, the body also finds peace. That is the deepest healing. No medicine, no knife, only the light of mindfulness and compassion. If you are ill today, do not despair. Illness is not an enemy, but a teacher. It comes to teach us precious lessons about letting go gratitude, and awakening. When you understand this, a smile will return to your lips, and light will shine in your eyes, even if the body is still weak. The Buddha does not bestow miracles. The mind itself is the miracle. When you believe in goodness, when you sow a seed of wholesomeness, a seed of compassion, you have already begun the healing process. Live each day in mindfulness, speak kind words, think good thoughts, do good deeds. That is taking the Buddha's medicine, medicine that cannot be bought anywhere but is available within each person. May all who carry illness, whether physical or mental, find the path back to peace. May every sutra, every chant of the Buddha's name be drops of sweet dew, nourishing weary bodies and minds. May all beings be peaceful, free from physical illness, mental suffering, and sorrow. And if, at this moment, you are listening to these words, please smile. For the moment you set your heart toward the Buddha, you are already being healed. In this life, there is a poison that causes immense suffering, weakens the body, and disturbs the mind, without requiring the ingestion of toxic substances or enduring physical blows. That is greed. People often think that illness only comes from germs, bacteria, or old age. But deep within the Buddha's teachings, physical illness largely stems from mental illness. When the mind is still filled with greedy calculations, when the heart doesn't know when to stop, that very restless energy will harm our body and make our life turbulent. The Buddha once taught that all suffering arises from greed, anger, and ignorance. Among these three poisons, greed stands first. For greed causes people to lose wisdom, lose mindfulness, and lose peace in both body and mind. When we observe those around us, we will see many people who, despite having abundant material wealth, do not feel happy at all. They are always afraid of loss, afraid of being inferior, afraid that others are better than them. Their minds are constantly tense and anxious. They cannot sleep soundly at night, nor eat well during the day. Greed not only causes human suffering, but also leads to physical illness. For every time greed arises, the mind is agitated, breathing becomes rapid, blood circulation is disrupted, nerves are tense, and vital energy is depleted. Over time, the body becomes fatigued, and illness arises from that. Once, there was an extremely wealthy king. His palace was filled with gold, silver, and jewels, yet he found no joy. Every day, he ordered his servants to hide his gold everywhere, fearing it would be stolen. Every night, he stayed awake, counting his treasures, fearing that his officials would betray him, or his relatives would plot against him. No matter how skilled the doctors were, they could not cure his insomnia and racing heart. One day, a renunciant entered the palace, saw the king's haggard appearance, and said, "Your Majesty, your illness is not in your body, but in your mind. Excessive wealth makes your mind restless. Greed binds your heart like a bird with clipped wings. To cure your illness, please learn to let go." The king listened, pondered for a long time, then gave a portion of his gold to the poor, used another portion to build pagodas, and entrusted the rest to others. Lo and behold, that night, he had his first good night's sleep in many years. From then on, the king understood that the medicine for greed is letting go, and the medicine for physical illness is healing the mental illness. In modern times, that story still holds its value. We may not be kings, but in each person's mind, there is a treasure we cling to. Money, fame, power, relationships, or simply old habits and notions. The tighter we cling, the more we fear loss. The more we want, the more unsettled our minds become. When greed arises, the heart beats faster, the head feels hot, and the body reacts as if being burned by the fire of craving. At that time, blood flow is obstructed, vital energy rises to the head, the liver generates toxins, the heart falls ill. A person with much greed easily succumbs to anger. Jealousy arises, followed by sorrow. These emotions accumulate over time, becoming toxins that permeate every cell, destroying health, without our even knowing it. The Buddha taught that the one who knows enough is the richest, and the one who knows when to stop is the most at peace. That saying is simple, yet profoundly deep. Knowing enough is not about scarcity, but about appreciating what one has. When the mind abides in the present, no longer swept away by the currents of craving, the body becomes light. Vital energy and blood are harmonized, and the spirit is clear. How many poor people are healthy, simple yet joyful? Because they know enough, are grateful, and know when to stop. And how many rich people are miserable, affluent yet sick, because they have never known what enough means? I remember a truly touching story about a man named Nguyen Hao, a well-known gold merchant in central Vietnam. He was talented and ambitious, eager to get rich quickly. After many years of trading, he accumulated a large capital, which he then invested in real estate, hoping to become a magnate within a few years. When the market went up, he was elated, thinking he had reached glory. But soon, the economy turned. Land prices plummeted disastrously. His assets evaporated in just a few months. Hao lost everything, accumulated overwhelming debt, and the pressure of worries caused him insomnia, sharp chest pains, and rapid breathing. Doctors diagnosed him with nervous disorders and a severe recurrence of heart disease. Every night, he struggled in anxiety and despair. He once questioned, "If Buddha truly exists, why does he let me suffer like this?" He did not know that this very question was the call of a soul yearning for salvation. One day, while wandering past a pagoda gate, he heard the slow ringing of a bell amidst the tranquil afternoon. The sound of that bell seemed to awaken something within him. He stepped in and met the kind abbot. He knelt and recounted all his sufferings. The abbot smiled and said, "Do you know, a greedy person is like one who drinks salty water. The more they drink, the thirstier they become. The thirstier they become, the more they drink. The more you want to hold on, the easier you lose. Wealth is merely a means, not an end. When your mind lets go, your body will be free from suffering. When your mind knows contentment, blessings will naturally come." Hao was silent, tears falling. For the first time, he felt something in his heart release, feeling lighter. From that day, he stayed at the pagoda for a few days, waking up early, sweeping the courtyard, listening to Dharma talks, chanting sutras, and reciting the Buddha's name. Initially, he was skeptical, but gradually, each chant of Namo Amitabha Buddha brought peace to his body and mind. He learned to breathe slowly and let go of every worrying thought. After a month, he returned home, his spirit more stable, his health gradually recovering. He began to give alms to the poor, support orphans, and share with those less fortunate than himself. A year later, his heart condition had almost disappeared. He smiled gently and told everyone, "Buddha did not bestow a miracle. My mind itself is the miracle." Nguyen Hao's story makes us realize that the most precious medicine is not in the hospital, but in our own mind. When the mind changes, the body changes. When the mind is wholesome, vital energy flows harmoniously, blood is nourished, and the body naturally recovers. The more we grasp, the more we are bound. The more we let go, the freer we become. In each breath, if we learn to let go of a little craving, a little worry, we are healing ourselves. The Buddha taught that body and mind are fundamentally not two. When the mind is unsettled, the body suffers. When the mind is calm, the body finds peace. If we observe carefully, we will see many healthy people whose minds are generous. Those who are often angry, greedy, or jealous often suffer from heart, liver, and stomach diseases. Those who live selflessly and know how to give often have bright faces and serene complexions. This is because the energy of compassion and letting go is a miraculous medicine. When we know how to share, how to love, and how to live simply, the body naturally produces wholesome substances, like a lotus blossoming with fragrance amidst the mud. Buddhism is not merely lofty words, but a very practical path of practice. When we sit quietly, close our eyes, inhale deeply, and exhale slowly, contemplating the phrase, "Greed is the root of suffering," we will feel our hearts gradually lighten. Try letting go of a desire, letting go of a comparison, letting go of something we are clinging to. Just doing that, the heart will beat more gently, breathing will regulate, and the body will naturally cool down. Chanting the Buddha's name, meditation, or simply smiling with gratitude are all medicine. Physical illness is easy to see. Mental illness is difficult to perceive. But when the mind is at peace, any illness can dissipate. One morning, Hao returned to the pagoda and met the abbot again. He recounted that recently, although he was not as wealthy as before, every day was joyful. He knew that waking up in the morning was a blessing, a simple meal was a stroke of luck, and good health was a treasure. The abbot smiled kindly and said, "Greed not only makes one poor in money, but also poor in blessings. One who knows how to give is sowing blessings. The more one gives, the more one receives. The more one knows contentment, the richer one becomes." From then on, he lived more slowly. Every evening, he meditated and chanted the Buddha's name, dedicating the merit to his parents and those who had caused him suffering. He said that when he was able to forgive, his old illness no longer recurred. If someone asks why the Buddha taught not to be greedy, we can answer that greed is a smoldering fire that burns up happiness. A greedy person is never satisfied. Even with the whole world in their hands, they are unhappy. But one who knows contentment is always happy, even with just a bowl of rice and salted vegetables. Happiness is not in the quantity of material possessions, but in the quality of the soul. When greed ceases, all suffering ceases. When a grateful heart arises, all illnesses gradually recede. Ultimately, the greatest lesson from this story is that to cure illness, one must cure the mind. To bring peace to the body, one must bring peace to the mind. Every morning when you wake up, look within yourself and see what greed is dominating you today. It might be money, relationships, fame, or simply a desire to be better than others. When you recognize it, smile and say, "I know, I'm letting go." Let your mind be as light as a cloud, and your body will naturally be as healthy as clear water. Tonight, if you are listening to these words, sit still for a moment. Take a deep breath and exhale slowly. Imagine all desires, all worries, all comparisons melting away with your breath. In that moment, you will feel your body lighten, your mind become clear. That is when healing energy begins to arise. When the mind is wholesome and clear, the body naturally recovers. When you know contentment, blessings naturally come. May all beings, those suffering from illness, anxiety, or unceasing greed, soon realize the light of mindfulness and learn to let go to find peace. May all who hear this Dharma talk have healthy bodies, wholesome minds, clear wisdom, and increasing blessings. Humans, from ancient times until now, have always held a deep belief that when encountering suffering, one only needs to turn to the Buddha, pray for his help, and everything will be resolved. When we are sick, we pray to the Buddha for quick recovery. When facing disaster, we pray to the Buddha for safe passage. When in need, we pray to the Buddha for abundance. But few realize that the Buddha is not a bestower of blessings, but a wise guide who shows the way. He does not save us from the fruits of suffering with miracles, but teaches us how to eliminate the causes of suffering ourselves, so that the fruits of suffering no longer arise, just as a doctor cannot take medicine on behalf of a patient. The Buddha can only give us the remedy. We must willingly take it to be cured of illness. Saving from suffering is not about taking our burden, but about showing us the path out of suffering. During the time the Buddha was alive, there was a man suffering from severe leprosy, his entire body aching and festering. Hearing that the Buddha possessed the power to save, he immediately sought him out, asking to be cured of his illness. The Buddha looked at him with compassionate eyes and gently said, "I am not a doctor who cures physical illness. I am one who teaches the path to cure mental illness. Physical illness is caused by the body. Mental illness is born of karma. To end physical illness, keep the body pure. To end mental illness, cultivate a wholesome mind." The man was surprised and asked, "But I am in so much pain. If you don't save me, what am I to do?" The Buddha merely smiled. "If you truly care for your body, then do not sow more seeds that cause the body to suffer. If you want your mind to be at peace, then do not let the mind generate more afflictions. Only when you save yourself through morality, joy, concentration, din, and wisdom, too, can all suffering be resolved." Upon hearing this, the man felt enlightened. From then on, he began to practice vegetarianism, observe precepts, and perform good deeds. After some time, his illness gradually subsided, his body hurt less, and his mind felt lighter. He understood that the Buddha had saved him by teaching him to save himself. Today, when we hear that story, we can smile and see ourselves in it. For we too have often prayed to the Buddha for help, yet have done nothing to change. We pray for illness to cease, but continue to eat indiscriminately, remain angry, and worry. We pray for an end to suffering, but continue to live in resentment, hatred, and comparison. We pray for a peaceful life, but daily create unwholesome karma. I ask, if the seeds are still sown, how can the fruit not appear? The Buddha once said, Like a tree planter, if the root is not cut, the tree will grow back. The suffering and illness of human life are the same. If we only cut the leaves and pluck the branches without healing the root of the mind, suffering will still return. The story of Mr. Thong, the owner of a small grocery store in the countryside, is a testament to this truth. Mr. Thong, around 40 this year, lived with his wife and 2 young children. His life was originally normal. Though not wealthy, it was reasonably comfortable. However, when he fell into gambling, everything changed. At first, it was just a game for fun, but it eventually became an addiction. The profits from his grocery store were not enough to cover his nightly gambling losses. His wife pleaded with him, but he was harsh. Each time he lost, he would go to the pagoda and pray to the Buddha for more luck, for his bad fortune to pass. He believed that if he was sincere, the Buddha would help him win back his money. But the more he prayed, the more he lost, and the more he fell into debt. His life became increasingly impoverished. One night, in a dream, he saw himself standing in a brightly lit pagoda. The Buddha appeared, looked at him kindly, and asked, "You pray for me to save you from debt, but do you stop sowing the seeds that lead you to debt?" He was stunned. "Venerable One, I only pray for you to help me end my suffering and debt." The Buddha said, "If you still want to end your debt, stop gambling. If you still want to end your suffering, stop creating the causes of suffering. I do not save the fruit of suffering. I show the way for you to stop sowing the seeds." He awoke suddenly, sweat beading on his forehead. The next morning, he went to the pagoda, knelt before the Buddha statue, tears falling. He whispered, "I understand now. I suffer because I sowed the seeds myself. From now on, I vow to stop gambling and diligently do wholesome deeds." From that day, he committed himself to honest work, helped the poor, and cultivated a compassionate mind. Strangely enough, although he was still in debt, his life gradually stabilized, and his mind became lighter. After 2 years, he paid off all his debts, and his family was harmonious again. He told everyone, "Buddha saved me not with a miracle, but with the teaching to stop sowing the seeds of suffering." Mr. Thong's story is simple, yet it contains the essence of Buddhist teachings. The Buddha does not save the fruit of suffering because the fruit is merely the result of seeds already sown. When wholesome seeds are sown, wholesome fruits come. When unwholesome seeds are created, suffering arises. To eliminate suffering, one must eliminate its causes. One who prays to the Buddha for salvation, but does not correct the causes, is like a person sitting in a burning house, merely praying for rain, while they themselves continue to pour oil on the fire. The Buddha once said, "Just as a guide shows the way, I show the path to liberation. Those who walk it will arrive. Those who stand still will remain in suffering." Therefore, practice is not to seek miracles, but to understand cause and effect and eliminate the causes. When the causes of suffering cease, the fruits of suffering naturally cease. Many people go to pagodas and pray daily, but as soon as they step out, they continue to create negative karma. They pray for health, but still speak harshly, remain angry and afflicted. They pray for family happiness, but live selfishly and competitively, refusing to yield. They pray for their children to become good people, but sow seeds of quick temper and greed in them. The Buddha cannot save them because they do not truly want to save themselves. For if our minds still contain greed, anger, and ignorance, even if we stand before the Buddha statue 1,000 times, suffering will not dissipate. But if our minds are clear, know how to repent, and stop evil to do good, then even before we have time to pray, blessings will arrive. Someone asked, if the Buddha doesn't save the consequences, then what's the use of praying? The answer is that prayer is not useless. If we pray with an enlightened mind, when we pray, we are directing our minds toward wholesomeness, nurturing faith, and positive energy. But if we only pray and do not act, then prayer becomes merely a ritual. The Buddha once said, "By oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil avoided. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another." That saying is an enlightenment for all who pray to the Buddha for salvation. To be saved by the Buddha, one must learn to save oneself. When we save ourselves, we are walking the path the Buddha showed. When we truly practice, the Buddha is always within us. Please sit quietly. Take a deep breath as you exhale. Relax your entire body, letting go of all worries. Close your eyes and imagine the Buddha smiling at you. Hear his gentle voice within your heart. I am always here, just waiting for you to stand up yourself. Let your mind settle to see that all suffering can be eliminated when we stop sowing the seeds of suffering. From today, every time you pray to the Buddha, add a vow. May I have enough wisdom to recognize the causes of suffering, enough courage to stop, enough compassion to save myself and help others also find peace. When that vow arises, that is when you have truly stepped onto the path of liberation. The Buddha does not save the fruit of suffering. The Buddha teaches us to eliminate the causes of suffering. Practice is not to seek miracles, but to deeply understand cause and effect, so as to no longer sow seeds of sorrow. When the cause stops, the fruit stops. When the mind is clear, suffering dissipates. And when we save ourselves by the path the Buddha taught, that is when the Buddha has truly saved us. Some people live their entire lives in suffering and never understand why they suffer. Their illnesses never cease. Their bodies are weary, their minds disturbed. And despite countless prayers, they find no peace. Some go to the pagoda every month, light incense, and prostrate before the Buddha. But as soon as they step out of the pagoda gate, they get entangled in gossip, lies, and blaming others. They do not know that the Buddha not only teaches us to pray for peace, but also teaches us to observe precepts. For the precepts are the preventative medicine for both body and mind. Observing precepts is not a bondage, but an opening to the true path of peace. One who observes precepts knows how to love themselves, knows how to prevent the causes of suffering before the fruits of suffering ripen. And the story of Mr. Kwang, a long-distance truck driver, is a testament to this miracle. Mr. Kwang is 45 years old this year. Before, he was known among drivers for speeding, speaking rudely, and habitual drunkenness. The lonely life on the road led him to seek joy in glasses of wine and conversations at roadside pubs. Many times, his wife and children advised him, but he would only force a smile and say, "How can a man not drink?" But then that temporary joy gradually led to pain. He developed hepatitis His skin turned yellow, his health deteriorated, and his temper became unpredictable. Whenever he was tired, he would shout and become irritable, creating a heavy atmosphere in the family. One time, while hospitalized, he heard someone in the next room playing a Dharma talk by a kind monk. In the talk, the monk said that one who observes precepts is one who knows how to love themselves, because they no longer sow the seeds of suffering for their body and mind. Those words resonated like a small ray of light in his weary mind. Upon discharge from the hospital, he went to the pagoda near his home, took refuge, and vowed to observe 2 precepts. First, no intoxication, and second, no lying. At first, he simply thought he would stop drinking to give his liver a rest. But gradually, as he took his vow seriously, his mind began to change. Whenever he went to a gathering and his friends urged him to drink, he would clasp his hands, chant Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, and gently decline with a smile. The feeling of overcoming himself brought him a serene joy, greater than any glass of wine from before. He realized that when he wasn't drunk, his mind was clear, his voice was gentle, his driving was steady, and customers trusted him more. He no longer cursed, lied, or blamed. Every day, he practiced living honestly and calmly, and gradually, his liver condition improved, his health recovered, and his family became more harmonious. He often told his wife, "Observing precepts is not just following the Dharma, but also preserving health and happiness." Mr. Kwang's story is like a lotus blossoming gently but persistently from the mud. It shows us that illness comes not only from the body, but also from habits, from karma, and from an untrained mind. When we live carelessly, without self-restraint, without understanding cause and effect, we unknowingly sow seeds for future suffering. The Buddha once taught that practitioners must take precepts as their foundation, for precepts are the basis of concentration and wisdom. Without precepts, the mind easily becomes agitated. Without precepts, karma easily arises. Just like a sick person, if they do not take care of themselves, even if they take medicine or pray, the illness will still recur. The Buddha's precepts are not harsh prohibitions, but wise advice to help us avoid suffering before it comes. The first precept is not to kill. Killing is not only harming humans or animals, but also sowing violent energy through words, thoughts, and actions. One who is often angry, scolds, or is violent toward others is killing the compassion within themselves. Once compassion is lost, the mind falls ill. The Buddha taught that one who observes the precept of not killing will sow seeds for longevity, abundant health, and the development of compassion. Try looking around. Those who live kindly, love animals, are vegetarian, and harm no one often have gentle faces, bright eyes, and lasting health. But those who are often angry and hateful, even if they eat well and dress beautifully, still have unsettled minds. Therefore, not killing is a medicine that helps our mind calm down, our body lighten, and unwholesome karma cease to grow. The second precept is not to steal. Stealing is not only taking what belongs to others, but also appropriating what is not ours, even in thought. A greedy person always wants more than others, always comparing, and is also taking away their own peace. The Buddha taught that when we are greedy, we lose freedom. When we know contentment, we become rich. Observing the precept of not stealing is learning to know enough, appreciating our own efforts and blessings. In life, many illnesses arise from greed. Overworking, overeating, wanting to possess, wanting to accumulate. All these disrupt the body and mind. One who knows contentment, eats moderately, sleeps moderately, and works moderately, has a peaceful mind. Contentment in Buddhism is a miraculous medicine for both body and mind. The third precept is not to engage in sexual misconduct. This precept keeps the body and mind pure. One who violates this precept often lives in deceit, fear, insomnia, and falls ill. The Buddha taught that sensual desire is like a burning fire. The more it is fueled, the more it burns. Practitioners observe this precept not because they disdain love, but because they understand that uncontrolled love leads to suffering. Look at jealousy, breakups, lies. All stem from unexamined desires. By observing this precept, the mind becomes light, the body becomes clean, and vital energy and blood are harmonized. A person with a pure mind has a bright face, a serene demeanor, and their words carry wholesome energy. That is the sign of a healthy person from within. The fourth precept is not to lie. Speech is a powerful creator of karma. A word can save a person, but can also kill a person. When we lie, our mind is unsettled, generating negative energy that causes physical illness. Some lie out of habit, but the more they lie, the more fearful and tired they become. The Buddha taught that truthful speech is like clear water. When it flows, it is not murky or foul, and it refreshes the listener. One who observes this precept will be trusted and loved by others, and blessings will abound. Keeping speech pure is also a way to cure mental illness. For every wholesome word is a healing medicine for oneself and those around. The fifth precept is not to take intoxicants. This refers not only to alcohol, but to anything that dulls us, makes us forget ourselves, from drug and tobacco to pleasures and desires that cause us to lose wisdom. When the mind is intoxicated, wisdom is lost. When wisdom is lost, suffering arises. One who is intoxicated often lives in illusion, unable to master their body and mind, causing harm to themselves and others. The Buddha taught that one who observes this precept knows how to care for themselves, how to protect a clear mind and a pure body. When not intoxicated, we see life more clearly, knowing what is wholesome and what is unwholesome, knowing what true happiness is. That is truly a tranquilizer for the mind. These 5 precepts may seem simple, but they are the foundation of all happiness and health. Observing precepts means preserving pure energy, helping the mind not be swept away by unwholesome karma. Some say observing precepts is difficult, but in reality, it is not a compulsion, but a journey of mindfulness. When we clearly see cause and effect, clearly see the harm of violating precepts, we naturally do not want to do it. Just as one who knows fire is hot does not willingly put their hand into it. Observing precepts is prevention. Violating precepts is nourishing illness. A person who lives with perceptual conduct radiates peaceful energy, experiences fewer physical ailments, sleeps soundly, and has a bright countenance. Wherever they go, peace is found. The Buddha taught that precepts are like the earth. All merits arise from that earth. This means that to have blessings, wisdom, and peace, one must first have precepts. Wanting peace without observing precepts is difficult. For when the mind is unwholesome, negative karma still arises. Precepts are the root, concentration is the trunk, wisdom is the flower. If precepts are maintained, concentration arises. If concentration arises, wisdom shines. If wisdom shines, suffering and illness naturally recede. Buddhism is not mysterious. It is as simple as breath, as a smile, as the compassion in each person. If everyone observed the precepts, this world would already be a pure land. If every family observed the precepts, this society would already be a place of peace. Therefore, one who observes precepts not only saves themselves, but also saves others. Finally, please join me in sitting quietly for a moment, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly to allow the mind to settle. Let us generate a mind of gratitude toward the Buddha, the Sangha, and those who have taught us to observe precepts and live wholesomely. Let us silently vow. From today, I vow to live in mindfulness, speak truthfully, perform wholesome deeds, and observe precepts in my heart, so that my body may be healthy, my mind at peace, my family serene, and the world enlightened. When such a vow arises, wholesome energy within us naturally begins to flow, and all worries, afflictions, and illnesses will gradually be resolved. Observing precepts is preserving peace. Preserving peace is preserving blessings. And preserving blessings is preserving lasting happiness. May each of us, after hearing the Buddha's teachings today, know how to love ourselves by living in accordance with the precepts, know how to love others with compassion, and know how to thank life with mindfulness. At that time, we will not need to pray to the Buddha to cure illness, for our minds will already be the medicine. The Buddha taught that precepts are the foundation, concentration is the body, and wisdom is the flower. May each of us know how to sow the seeds of precepts in our hearts, so that the flower of wisdom may soon bloom, and the breeze of peace may spread everywhere. My dear friend, if there are times you feel tired for no clear reason, your body sluggish even without severe illness, or days when nothing bad happens, yet your mind is uneasy and irritable, pause for a moment. It might be that you are tightly bound by the venomous snakes in your mind without realizing it. The Buddha taught that within each person dwell 3 poisonous snakes: greed, anger, and ignorance. They are not outside the body, but hidden in every breath, every thought, every reaction we have when facing life. If we do not recognize and resolve them, they will daily gnaw away at our health, burn our souls, and make us live in this world as if tormented by suffering. Long ago, a parable in the scriptures recounted a person living in a small room, inside which were 3 extremely poisonous snakes. They always hid in the darkness, ready to strike anyone who came near. The person was terribly frightened, trying to escape, but the more they ran, the more the snakes pursued. The Buddha likened these 3 snakes to the 3 poisons in each person's mind. The snake of greed makes us chase after things we like, desire more than our capacity, always feeling not enough, not satisfied. The snake of anger makes us flare up whenever things don't go our way, when others don't follow our wishes. And the snake of ignorance makes us dim-witted, unable to see right from wrong, not knowing the way home. These three snakes are not external, but reside right within our consciousness. When we nourish them with resentment, jealousy, craving, and delusion, they grow larger, causing illness in both body and mind. The story of Ms. Mai that I am about to tell will perhaps make you recognize a part of yourself. Ms. Mai is a literature teacher at a high school. Her life seemed calm, a complete family, stable job, obedient husband, and children. But as she grew older, she found herself increasingly irritable and annoyed. A small thing could make her angry. A misplaced word could hurt her. She often said, "I don't understand why my health has declined so much these past few years. I always have headaches and feel tired. When I go to the doctor, they say nothing is wrong, just stress." She took medicine endlessly without relief. At night, she tossed and turned before finally falling asleep, waking up with swollen eyes from crying. One day, her close friend invited Ms. Mai to a Dharma talk at a nearby pagoda on the topic, "The Three Poisonous Snakes in the Mind." She sat quietly in a corner, listening to the kind monk preach. Some people spend their entire lives seeking medicine to cure physical ailments, but they do not know that their minds contain poison. The snake of greed ensures we are never satisfied. The snake of anger makes us burn ourselves with rage. And the snake of ignorance makes us wander lost in the labyrinth of afflictions. As long as these three snakes live, no matter how precious the medicine, the body will be hard to heal, and the mind hard to pacify. Ms. Mai felt as if someone was talking about her. For all those years, she had harbored anger toward those who went against her wishes. She was jealous when colleagues were praised. She was annoyed when her husband forgot small things. She thought these were just personality traits, but it turned out to be poison, gradually seeping in. That night, she went home, sat in front of the mirror for a long time, seeing her haggard face and tired eyes. She clasped her hands and softly said, "Yes, it is I who made myself sick." From then on, she began to learn how to quiet her mind. Every morning, she woke up early, sat still, took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, chanted the Buddha's name, and smiled. She said, "It was very difficult at first, because as soon as my mind quieted down a bit, all sorts of thoughts arose." But then she remembered the monk's words. Each breath is an opportunity to dissolve the toxins in the mind. So she practiced day by day. She learned to observe anger without nourishing it. When someone annoyed her, she didn't react immediately, but breathed and chanted, "Namo Amitabha Buddha." Gradually, she felt her heart lighten, like a leaf falling into a stream. A year later, her insomnia disappeared, and her headaches ceased. Ms. Mai said, "No medicine is as miraculous as mindful breathing and gratitude." The Buddha once said, "The mind is the root of all phenomena. When the mind is pure, the world is pure. When the mind is agitated, illnesses arise. When the three poisons in the mind are resolved, the body will naturally restore its natural vitality. A person with greed will have a fast heart rate. A person with anger will have high blood pressure. A person with ignorance will have a weary spirit. Doctors can treat the symptoms, but the root cause lies in the mind, and only we can save ourselves. Just like the person in the room with 3 snakes. To escape, one cannot just scream or beg, but must know how to open the door and step out. The Buddha does not kill the snakes for us, but he shows us the way out of that house. Do you realize? Greed, anger, and ignorance are like poisons that, if we drink them daily, will gradually weaken our bodies without our even knowing it. When we are greedy for money, fame, or sensual pleasures, our minds are always in a state of tension, never feeling enough. When we are angry, we project energy of hatred that makes our heart weary, our brain hot, and our body tremble. When we are deluded by ignorance, we believe in wrong things, cling to illusions, and cause ourselves suffering. In every fit of anger, in every instance of excessive craving, in every moment of delusion, there is a dose of poison we are willingly consuming. The ancients said, excessive anger harms the body, which is not just advice, but a scientific and moral truth. Greed traps us in a vicious cycle of desires. We have something, then we want more. We gain, then we fear losing. A person with much greed is never satisfied, and that very dissatisfaction is the root of suffering. Anger burns ourselves. When we are angry at someone, try looking into our own minds. Do we feel ourselves trembling, our heart beating fast, our breath shallow? At that moment, hot blood rushes up, and every cell is eroded by negative energy. As for ignorance, it is a lack of understanding, living without clearly seeing the causes of suffering, not knowing what should or should not be done. An ignorant person lives in illusion, and illusion is the root of mental illness. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught that the 3 poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance are the fires that burn the world. Whoever knows how to extinguish these fires lives in nirvana, right here and now. That teaching is simple, yet profound. The Buddha does not say, you must go to a mountain, you must beg him to cure your illness, but only asks us to extinguish the fire in our hearts. For when the mind is at peace, the body will also follow and be at ease. When the mind is clear, life will naturally transform. If you are currently ill, try listening to your body and mind. Is there something in your heart that you haven't let go of? Are you still resentful toward someone? Still regretting a past? Still wanting more than you have? All these things are fuel for the 3 poisonous snakes to awaken. Don't wait for external miracles, because the true miracle lies in each person's mindfulness. Try starting today, just a small practice. Sit still. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. When you inhale, silently say, I know I am inhaling. When you exhale, silently say, I am smiling. Each breath is a cleansing of the mind. If anger arises, inhale and say, hello, anger, I see you. When craving arises, exhale and say, I don't need anything more. I am enough. When delusion arises, smile and remember the light of the Buddha's wisdom. In a Dharma talk, someone asked the Buddha, Venerable One, how do I know I have eliminated the 3 poisons? The Buddha smiled and replied, when you see others happy and you are not jealous, when you see others praised and you rejoice, When you are criticized and you remain calm, then the poisonous snakes have fallen asleep. That is the sign of one who is healing both body and mind. Ms. Mai recounted that after a year of practice, not only was her body healthier, but her husband and children were also more harmonious. Every evening, the whole family would sit together and chant the Buddha's name. She said, "Perhaps not everyone needs to meditate for a long time. Just slow down, breathe deeper, and forgive more. When the mind is at peace, people naturally get sick less. When there is no longer resentment in the heart, the body also knows how to heal itself." You see, everything starts from the mind. The mind is the root. The body is the fruit. If the root is rotten, the fruit will spoil. If the root is wholesome, the fruit will be sweet. That is why the Buddha taught that to end suffering and illness, one must eliminate the poisonous snakes in the mind. We cannot eliminate greed by satisfying it. We cannot eliminate anger by venting it. We cannot eliminate ignorance by running away. We can only look directly at them, recognize them, smile, and let go. If you are listening to these words, please sit still for a moment. Feel your breath entering and leaving. As you inhale, silently say, "I am peaceful." As you exhale, smile, "I am letting go." Each breath is a prayer. Each smile is a healing. Let the 3 poisonous snakes within you be resolved by the light of mindfulness, by love and wisdom. Then you will feel your body strengthen, your spirit lighten, and your life bathed in the cool stream of compassion. The Buddha does not promise to cure illness with miracles. He only shows us the way to no longer cause illness. That path is the path to eliminate the 3 poisons, the path of awakening, the path of love. When the mind is at peace, all phenomena are at peace. When the heart is free from poison, life is free from suffering. And now, please join me in sitting still. Just a few minutes. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly, smile, and let go. Each breath is an act of dissolving toxins in the mind. Believe that wherever you are, in suffering or illness, the light of the Buddha is still shining on you. In every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of this present, there are pains that lie not only in the body, but also seep deep into the very core of the heart. Many people carry illnesses not just because their bodies are weak and weary, but because their souls are wounded. Every night, in the quietest moments, when all sounds outside are silent, within us resonate the choked cries of suffering, loneliness, regret, and resentment. And it is in such moments that some have found the light of the Dharma, a path that helps them understand the truth of suffering and how to escape it. The story of Miss Hoa, an ordinary woman with an extraordinary journey through suffering, is a testament to this. Ms. Hoa is 40 years old this year, working as a seamstress in a small factory on the outskirts of the city. Her life once seemed very simple. She went to work in the morning, came home in the afternoon to cook and clean. And in the evening, hearing her child study, she felt at peace. But one day, her husband suddenly left her for another woman, leaving her and her young child in an empty house. Everything collapsed in an instant. She felt her heart being squeezed, every breath heavy, as if crushed by a stone. She became thin and gaunt, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and cried every day. She said, "I don't know what I'm living for anymore. Life seems full of nothing but suffering." One morning, after many sleepless nights, Ms. Hoa was invited by a friend to go to the pagoda to listen to Dharma. She went with the sole intention of lessening her pain, without any deeper thoughts. That day, the monk lectured on a Dharma talk titled "The Four Noble Truths, the Path to End Suffering." He spoke in a calm yet warm voice. Suffering is a truth. Its origin is the cause. Its cessation is the end. And the path is the way. Just that one sentence was like an arrow shot directly into Ms. Hoa's heart. She sat stunned, tears streaming down her face. She suddenly realized that all this time she had only seen suffering, but had never seen the way out of it. From that day on, she began to change. Every evening, she would dedicate 15 minutes to sitting still, breathing gently, and chanting the Buddha's name. She practiced looking back at herself, realizing where her suffering came from, not just because her husband left her, but because she clung too much, expected too much, relied too much on others for happiness. She understood that when her mind wanted to hold on to what is impermanent, suffering was inevitable. Thanks to this practice, her mind gradually softened. She became less angry and less resentful. Then, one day, she smiled gently and said, "Teacher, I feel so peaceful, even though life is no longer as it once was." That is the power of the Four Noble Truths, 4 miraculous truths that the Buddha awakened to under the Bodhi tree, bringing a light to humanity that shines for all ages. The Four Noble Truths are not abstract theories, but a practical path that helps people clearly see the nature of suffering, its roots, and how to eliminate it. The Buddha taught that suffering is a truth. Its origin is the cause. Its cessation is the end. And the path is the way. Each word, each phrase in it, is a miraculous remedy for the body and mind of living beings. Suffering is the first truth, something each of us experiences. The Buddha does not deny suffering, but he helps us look directly at it. For if we do not recognize that we are suffering, we will never seek a way out. Ms. Hoa, like many others, had once tried to avoid suffering, to deny the pain. But the more she avoided it, the greater her suffering became. When she heard the Buddha teach that suffering is a truth, she suddenly understood that accepting suffering is not surrender, but the first step toward liberation. Just as a sick person who wants to get well must first dare to acknowledge that they are ill. But the Buddha did not stop there. After pointing out the truth of suffering, he continued to speak about its origin, the cause of suffering. The origin, tap, means accumulation, the root of afflictions, unwholesome habits, and the karma we have created through body, speech, and mind. Some suffer from greed. Some are tormented by anger. Some are immersed in ignorance. All these things accumulate in the mind like layers of dust over the years. The thicker the dust, the more the light is obscured. Ms. Hoa once suffered, not only because her husband left, but because she had accumulated too much resentment, self-pity, and blame toward others. And it was these very emotions that caused her body to fall ill, her sleep to be restless, and her breath to become weary. And then, in the process of her spiritual study, she realized that if there is an origin, there is also a cessation. This means that if suffering has a cause, there is also a path to eliminate suffering. The Buddha called this cessation diet, the complete end of suffering, true peace. Not temporary peace due to material possessions or praise, but inner peace. When the mind completely lets go of all clinging, Ms. Hoa recounted the day she could look back at her ex-husband and say, "May you be happy," without tears. That was the day she knew she had extinguished the origin of suffering in her heart. Finally, the Buddha taught about the path, Tao, leading to cessation. The path here is the Noble Eightfold Path. 8 correct ways that help people live with right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each step in the Noble Eightfold Path is a remedy for body and mind. When we speak kind words, do good deeds, think rightly, and keep our minds abiding in mindfulness, little by little, the toxins in our body and mind will be cleansed. Although Ms. Hoa did not have extensive education, every day she practiced living simply, speaking gently, working diligently, and helping others when she could, without comparison or anger. She said, "Since I learned to keep my mind mindful, I've been much less sick, and my body feels so light." When we look deeply into the Four Noble Truths, we see it as a complete circle. Suffering is a truth that needs to be seen. Its origin is a root that needs to be uprooted. Its cessation is a peace that needs to be attained, and the path is a road that needs to be walked. If we only know suffering, but do not see its origin, we will forever lament our fate. If we see its origin, but do not know cessation, we will sink into despair. If we know cessation, but do not follow the path, we will only have dreams without action. Only when these 4 things become one can we truly escape the cycle of suffering. In modern life, people often try every way to drive away suffering: shopping, eating, traveling, entertainment. But after short-lived joys, we still feel empty. This is because external things can only soothe, not truly heal. The Buddha taught that only by cultivating the mind, correcting oneself, and deeply contemplating the causes and conditions of suffering can one truly end suffering. A person with physical illness seeks medicine to treat the body. A person with mental illness must seek medicine to treat the mind. And the medicine for the mind is not far away. It is precisely the 4 noble truths that the Buddha left for all beings. If we learn to recognize suffering in every breath, see its origin in every fit of anger, direct our minds towards cessation with compassion, and walk the path with mindfulness, then every day we are healing ourselves. Physical illness may require medicine, but mental illness requires understanding and love. Those who understand the 4 noble truths no longer blame life, for they know that suffering is also a teacher. Suffering helps them awaken. When this is understood, the mind naturally finds peace, the body naturally lightens, and blessings naturally grow from it. The Buddha once said, "Whoever sees the 4 noble truths sees the Dharma. Whoever sees the Dharma sees me." He did not tell us to blindly believe, but taught us to personally realize it. Just like a thirsty person, only by drinking water does one know if it is sweet or salty. Similarly, only when we practice the 4 noble truths do we know what true peace is. Ms. Hoa's story is an example that shows true transformation. From a despairing person, she became someone who knows how to smile amidst the storms of life. From a mentally ill person, she became someone who brings peace to her child and colleagues. She once said, "Before, I thought life's suffering was caused by others. Now I understand that suffering is because my mind did not yet know the Dharma. Knowing this, I see that everything has causes and conditions, and everything can be let go of." Those who heard the Dharma that day shed tears, not out of pity, but out of emotion. For each of us sees our own reflection in Mrs. Hoa. The times we blamed others, resented life, suffered from loss, from gain, from things not going our way. But when we understand the Four Noble Truths, we learn to turn inward, to realize that suffering is no longer to be feared. For behind it is a door opening to peace. Today, if you are weary from illness, from worries, from loss, stop for a moment. Listen to the Buddha's teachings. Know suffering, see its origin, cultivate the path, eliminate suffering. Practice looking at suffering as a student looks at a lesson. Don't run, don't fear, just look deeply and ask, what is the cause of this suffering? Then, gently let go, little by little. Now, if you can, please join me in practicing 1 minute of mindful meditation, a small gift the Buddha left for all beings. Sit still, relax your shoulders, gently rest your hands on your thighs. Inhale very slowly, knowing you are inhaling. Exhale very gently, knowing you are exhaling. Inhale, feeling the cool air entering your body. Exhale, letting go of all fatigue, worries, and suffering. Inhale, smile. Exhale, let go. Each breath is a step home, back to yourself. Each moment of mindfulness is a moment of healing. When the mind is at peace, the body will also gradually find peace. When we understand that suffering is no longer an enemy, but a friend who helps us awaken, we no longer fear. Just like Mrs. Hoa, after many years drifting and suffering, she finally found a shore of peace. Not because life's storms ended, but because in her heart, she had a stable boat named the Four Noble Truths. May each of us, wherever we are, whatever illness or suffering we are experiencing, find the light of the Four Wondrous Truths. May you know how to recognize suffering so as not to resent, see its origin so as not to be deluded, cultivate the path to nurture a wholesome mind, and attain cessation so that the mind may be at peace. There are evenings when, sitting quietly and watching the sunset descend behind the mountains, we realize that for years we have been tirelessly seeking a remedy to cure physical ailments, forgetting that the deepest wounds lie within the mind. Some take countless medicines and seek treatment everywhere, but their illness never ceases. This is because the pain is not in the physical body, but in an unsettled soul. When the body aches, we seek a doctor. When the mind suffers, only the light of the Dharma can illuminate our way to find the root cause of that suffering ourselves. The Buddha once taught that this body is impermanent. What is born will surely perish. But if the mind is pure, even in the midst of illness, one can still experience peace and happiness. Long ago, there was a lay disciple named Min An. He was a skilled merchant, living a prosperous life, but in middle age, he contracted an incurable disease. The illness lasted for many years, wasting his body and exhausting his mind. He sought treatment everywhere, spending countless amounts of money, But the illness persisted. One day, in despair, he chanced upon an old monk beneath a Bodhi tree. Seeing his haggard appearance, the monk asked, "Where do you hurt?" Min-an replied, "Venerable sir, I hurt all over my body, down to my bones and marrow. There is no part that is not ill." The monk smiled gently and said, "Then, is your mind well?" That question stunned Min-an. For so long, he had only worried about treating his physical illness, never once considering the illness of his mind. The old monk continued, "If the body is ill, there is medicine to cure it. If the mind is ill, only the Buddha's Dharma and mindfulness can heal it. When your mind is at peace, your body will also gradually recover. For the body is the shadow, and the mind is the form." From then on, Min-an began to learn meditation, practicing mindfulness with every breath, every step. As time passed, a miracle occurred. Although the illness did not disappear completely, he experienced an unprecedented peace. He smiled, lived each day fully, no longer afraid. The physical illness no longer seemed a burden, but became a lesson that helped him awaken. Min-an's story is a mirror for us to see a profound truth. Physical illness can cause us pain, but mental illness truly binds us in endless suffering. When the mind is obscured by greed, anger, and ignorance, we see the world with gloomy eyes. When the mind is filled with resentment, jealousy, and anxiety, even if the body is healthy, the heart still finds no peace. That is why the Buddha always taught that to eliminate suffering, one must begin by understanding one's own mind. Physical illness is the branch. Mental illness is the root. Some people have mild physical ailments, but weak minds, lamenting, blaming, and fearing, which makes their illness even worse. Others are gravely ill, but have strong, peaceful minds, deeply trusting in cause and effect, so they still live joyfully and virtuously. And then a miracle gradually blossoms from within their minds, like a lotus in the mud. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught that even if the body is ill, if the mind is not ill, one is still a happy person. It sounds simple, but to achieve this, we must practice daily, with every breath, every thought. When the body hurts, we inhale, acknowledging the pain. We exhale, smiling at it, as if smiling at an old friend visiting. Because that pain is merely a phenomenon of arising and ceasing, like clouds floating in the sky, like wind blowing across a field. We don't need to chase it away. We just need to acknowledge it and relax, and it will naturally dissipate. When the mind no longer resists, the body will be less tense, and healing energy will naturally arise. A physically ill person may need medicine, but a mentally ill person needs mindfulness. Medicine only treats the symptoms, while mindfulness treats the root. If we take medicine, but our mind is still full of anger, afflictions, and selfishness, the medicine will have difficulty taking effect. But if we take medicine with a grateful and peaceful mind, deeply trusting in cause and effect, and living wholesomely, then the positive energy in our mind will become a precious medicine that supports the body. Modern science today has also proven that positive emotions can boost the body's ability to recover, while resentment and fear weaken the immune system. What the Buddha said over 2,000 years ago, medicine is only now beginning to realize. Physical illness is caused by an imbalance of the four elements: earth, water, wind, and fire. Mental illness is caused by greed, anger, and ignorance, not yet transformed. One who practices knows how to adjust both. When the body is weak, we care for it with medicine, healthy eating, and adequate rest. When the mind is weak, we care for it with wholesome deeds, chanting the Buddha's name, compassion, and forgiveness. Every time we generate a loving heart, forgive someone, we are lifting a burden from our own heart. And every time we chant Namo Amitabha Buddha with all sincerity, we are sending pure energy into every cell of our body. At that moment, as the mind finds peace, the body also gradually finds peace. My dear friend, perhaps at this moment you are suffering from an illness or caring for a sick loved one. You may feel tired, exhausted, and anxious, but please do not despair. Illness is merely a guest that comes to remind us to slow down and look deeply within ourselves. Do not hate it, and do not fear it. Listen to the Buddha's teachings. When you light the lamp of mindfulness, the darkness of suffering will dissipate. When you know how to truly love yourself, both body and mind will be healed. That saying is like a light in the long night. Truly loving oneself is not about indulging oneself, but about listening to one's body, knowing when to rest when tired, knowing when to let go when overwhelmed, and knowing when to forgive when the heart harbors resentment. When the mind has compassion, even if the illness persists, we still feel light. When the mind is full of hatred, even if the body is healthy, we still feel weary. A Zen master once said, "There is no path leading to peace. Peace itself is the path." This means we don't need to wait until illness is gone to be at peace. Instead, be at peace, right in the midst of illness. Look at illness as a teacher. It teaches us to cherish life. It teaches us to love this body. It teaches us to live fully in every present moment. Every morning when you wake up, smile, and say to yourself, "Today I can still breathe, still live, still love." That is already a miracle. When we are grateful for life, miracles will gradually manifest. The pain may not have ceased, but the suffering in the mind will diminish. And that is true healing. Some people, after experiencing illness, suddenly become kinder and more compassionate. They are no longer agitated, no longer jealous, no longer see money as everything. They realize that health is more precious than gold, and a peaceful mind is an invaluable treasure. They begin to eat vegetarian, chant sutras, recite the Buddha's name, and perform good deeds. They learn to share smiles, listen, and live slowly. And then their bodies gradually recover, not by magic, but because their minds have transformed. When the mind is clear, the body will naturally regulate itself. When the mind is wholesome, karma also lightens. Illness comes as a karmic result. But if we know how to cultivate and correct our mind, that karmic result will also gradually dissipate. That is the wondrous dharma of cause and effect. The Buddha taught that in this body, there is nothing that is I, nothing that is so, nothing that is myself. When we understand this, we will cling less to the body and fear illness less. We only need to live rightly, live wholesomely, and live mindfully. When the mind is clear, even if the body is ill, we are still at peace. When the mind is deluded, even if the body is healthy, we still suffer. Therefore, the true medicine that the Buddha left us is not in a bottle or a herb, but in every mindful breath, every chanting of the Buddha's name, every wholesome act stemming from a compassionate heart. Now, before concluding this Dharma talk, please sit still. Relax your entire body. Let your shoulders drop, your eyes gently closed. Inhale deeply, feeling the cool, refreshing air entering your body. Exhale, smile, and let go of all worries and afflictions. Inhale, knowing you are alive. Exhale, knowing you are at peace. Each breath is a miracle. Each moment of mindfulness is a dose of medicine. Breathe like this, gently, slowly, and feel your heart gradually calm down. If there are still pains in your heart, place your hand on your chest and silently say, "I forgive myself. I forgive everyone." That statement is the door opening to peace. As you listen to this Dharma talk, know that no occurrence is without cause. Perhaps you have passed through weary days, but from this moment, you can start anew. Light the lamp of mindfulness in your heart. Believe that whenever you turn toward wholesomeness, the Buddha and Bodhisattvas will support and uplift you. For the boundless compassion of the Buddhas never abandons living beings. It is only when our minds are quiet that we can feel that light. Illness will pass, like a rainstorm that eventually clears. As long as you keep your mind clear, even if you walk through a hurricane, you will still see the clear sky. Now, on behalf of all those listening, I offer this dedication. May the merit of hearing this Dharma talk be dedicated to all beings. May their bodies be free from illness, their minds free from suffering, their wisdom as bright as the full moon, and their minds as serene as autumn lake water. May all who are suffering from illness soon find peace. May all who are afflicted by sorrow soon awaken. May all of us learn to return and take refuge in ourselves, in the triple gem, in mindful breathing, so that both body and mind may be healed. Always remember, physical illness has medicine, but mental illness can only be cured by the Buddha's Dharma and mindfulness. When you know how to truly love yourself, know how to live in mindfulness, then even if the body is ill, the heart will be at ease, like a lotus blooming in the mud, still radiating pure fragrance. And then you will understand that the greatest miracle is not far away, but right within your own peaceful heart.